Bruh. Ah, apa? Opo. Enggak. Kenyang, Bi. Aku kenyang banget. Tolong. Enggak. Aku kenyang banget. Tuh full. Enggak.
Satu bite. Kok marshmallow-nya doang?
Enggak mau, Bi.
Kenapa?
Enggak mau aja.
Gendut.
Malas.
Kenapa, Bi? Enak.
Enggak.
Kok beli lagi?
Ya, mau grinding.
Kenapa?
Karena mau grinding.
Kan power.
Ah, malas. Nanti aja. Dari tadi power work mulu.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Old Moon Podcast, episode 73, right?
Yes.
Yes,
No,
sir.
you got it.
Dude,
Wow.
I nailed that. 4 weeks it's been, I think, right? Or is it 3? Has it been 3 weeks? Might have been 3 weeks. It's been a second since the Old Moon Podcast happened because we have been playing Throne and Liberty a lot to talk about how terrible that game is so that we can all come back and play Black Desert. I am Blue Squadron, as always, one of your hosts, joined by Jakun.
Hi, my name is Jakin VT.
Fuck,
I
gua ada
do a lot
duit
of endgame
buat
content
itu
such
lagi.
as Olens, the dungeons, party boss splits. I've been playing a lot of another MMO lately, and you can find me live over at twitch.tv/JakinVT, V before the T.
Right on,
And
Jay.
happy Halloween.
Jay, where is the community highlights videos, bro? You got every like 4 days. You should be cranking those.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
where-
I'll get more on
where
top
are
of it.
those,
I've just been
bro?
really into the game.
I know. I have the same thing. And we'll talk about that in a second. Blonde, how have you been enjoying Black Desert and then not so Black Desert lately?
Hi, I'm Blonde Bear. You can catch me at twitch.tv/BlondeBear. I played like 2 days of Throne and Liberty, hit max level, logged out, haven't logged back in. It was fun for a minute, you know, it was nice. I did some dungeons with Jay, I enjoyed that. And then they had a treasure event in BDO, so I've been grinding my brains out for that because grinding anything with City of the Dead is better. So I've been kind of living at Iserhood. I did get a Sovereign weapon too, which was kind of nice, and
Wow.
that's at Penn, and so I'm working on my second one right now. So yeah,
I respect it.
and I like to party.
The people playing BDO right now, I just want to point this out. I'm just going to hide this for a second. Belle Delphine fan. That's an interesting name. That's crazy. In the server chat right there. That being said, there's a lot to talk about because we haven't met in a few weeks over this hype here, and I'm sure that we will get into that discussion as well. But the first thing that we should really talk about is the dev note. I assume that all players at this point have talked about the dev note, have seen the dev note, and have developed their opinions on this. I will say that the like-dislike ratio on the dev note video, at least for the English version, is more dislikes than likes. But it's something like a 55% to 50%. So like, yeah, it's definitely pretty split. I think that there were elements of the dev talk that people really liked, and then there were elements that people really did not like, and people were kind of split on it. As for my take on it, I already posted my reaction to it, the whole thing. I know that I would say about half of it was kind of people call it dooming, but like it was just like negatively received. Half of it or so was negatively received, particularly the PvP half, and then the other half I think that were overall relatively positive changes for the game, minus one or two things here and there that are particularly bad, but overall, I'd say it was kind of 50-50 on my end. A lot of people saw it as dooming because whenever I complain about the game, that's oh my god, he's just a doomer. But like, it was kind of like a 50-50. But I do not think that the dev note was good enough to bring back the player base to where it was before. But I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on it were, because neither of you posted really a react to it or have discussed it yet. So Blonde, you're typically our beacon for positivity, as it were. Anti-doomer, right, Lon? That's you. What did you think about the dev note, like the pieces of the dev note?
In general,
Event apa udah lama nggak login?
I like
Halloween doang.
dev.
Gue juga udah lama nggak login.
To the community.
Enggak sih, dari kemarin gue login cuma ngambil daily doang tapi nggak grinding.
I think that in general, this is of any communication. This is a way they're going to communicate. And although I wish they were more frequent, any kind of communication is better than it being like a blackout. Although some people would disagree, they think that they prefer something.
Ya, gue nggak tahu lah. Gue cuma mau ngabisin agris doang. Terus I call it a day, gue play Parlor.
But on the whole, I think it's good. I think we can go topic by topic because I have the summary screenshots that they posted on the website post, so we can go over each of the individual ones. But in general, I thought it was nice. The apologies, of all the times that they've done like apologies, these ones felt like actually sincere with an actual explanation, which kind of made some logical sense. I mean, logical in some ways, but I think it was nice. Whether I think it was good or not, I mean, in the particular things that I like about the game, I think it's going to be a positive swing for certain things. On the PvP side, Node War side, I feel bad for you guys. I don't think they're ever going to get that back in the positive side of the game. So we can go over that when we go into specifics. But generally, I was happy with it. I was like, okay, this is nice. Now let's do like one every month or something like that, you know? Because as we'll get into the dev talk, they kind of announced like the next month of junk, and then we'll see what happens, right?
Aduh, kapan ya CC barunya? Biar gue ada motivasi buat grinding gitu. Gue sekarang nggak ada motivasi buat grinding sama sekali.
Like, where were you at? Mixed, like.
The dev content was okay for me. I didn't really have anything that really like made me jump out of my seat. And I definitely agree with Blonde that, communication is important, and yeah, I would like to have more videos like this where they lay out what they have, what plan they have in store for us that allows us players, to get more feedback, and feedback is important for improving the game. When they came to the part about like the Karazad accessories, it's more powerful and something to aim and strive for again, but I've kind of been running in the same circle to grind for my things for the last 4 years. The majority of the time grinding for my progression, I would say like 75% was spent in Olin's Valley, and 25% of it consisted of like Elvia zones, the dungeons, and now we have Dekia Olin, so we're back at it again at Olin's Valley.
Okay,
So
we
when
got a
they did
spot.
announce,
Nice.
the Land of Winning Light grind zones, that's what caught my attention the most. Like the devs always talk about how it was, Land of Winning Light is such an inspiring zone for them to work on. It's based off the country where they live in, which is Korea. And not only, but they only had their players visit there during the quest line, and then the boss splits, and then later they added a function to fast travel there. So there was even less reason to go back, other than for like knowledge grinding or whatever. So I'm glad that they are finally planning to add more monster zones to Land of Morning Light. But the grind spots really need to add. It needs to be more than just a tower. So hopefully they create something innovative for the grind spot to make it more exciting than just a tower grind spot. And yeah, as for the Node War and PvP section of the commentary, I felt like there was nothing to really write home about. It was kind of short, and I think for me, all I remember was them saying they needed more time to add the function to give players to have that old Node War system back, or do the new Node War system for the week. But yeah, I don't think I have anything else to say about the PvP announcement. That's
okay. I'll speak on it for. Don't worry. We'll hit the PvP first, since I know that's what most players don't give a crap about. Let's just be honest. Most players are like, yeah, PvP changes, whatever. You have to acknowledge that it was the PvPers that suffered the hardest and left the game.
Turi bang, skip bang, mager.
Kind of collapsed behind them. So, like,
Gua bos-bos gitu udah skip sih, kayaknya malas banget tuh ngerjainnya. Reforce-nya gue udah dapat semua.
The PvP side of the Death Note, I've said this many times, it was really bad. Really, really bad. The fact that they're introducing a band-aid fix, essentially what they're going to do is they're going to give us the choice, or the winning guild of each region, or at least for uncapped only, is my understanding. The winning guild of the uncapped region will get to choose whether or not they do the old Node War system or the new Node War system. Which sounds good on paper, unless you actually PvP. And in this case, one, that gives the players a little bit too much power, in my opinion. I think that you could just troll the whole server, for starters. Number two, it didn't actually address the problem of 75-man Node Wars on Uncapped. What do you think is going to happen here? You think that everyone's just going to come back and play the 75-man Node Wars? We can't pull 75 people to a total Node War nowadays. Like, there's just, you can't even get 4 guilds to show up for Node Wars nowadays, and that's on any cap at this point. So it's just a little rough to try and think that that would be something that would fix it. Add on top of that, the fact that they said it's not even ready. They said it'll come in 2 months, right? It's like, oh, okay, so we understand you're not, well, they didn't even, and that's just the biggest thing that was really irked me as a PvPer, is that they apologized for a decent amount of stuff. There were like 2 apologies, I think, in the dev note. As Blom said, they did seem sincere with those, but they took like the smaller things and they apologized for them. They praised themselves about the current Node War system and said how, like, oh god, look how positive our feedback has been, and look how good it is. So many players really enjoying the new Node War system. But they didn't really acknowledge or apologize to the PvPers for any reason, which I think was really bad. Like you should have you just need to admit that your current Node War system it's not working. Worldwide, you've killed Node Wars for every single region in the game. There's some copers out there that say that Asia still has a Node War scene, but then you look at their Node Wars and they got like 3 guilds or something. So like that, it's cooked too. It's like, you just need to admit that, okay, yeah, this was wrong, and you need to introduce a new system, right? Or like an actual fix. A band-aid fix 2 months from now is simply not going to work, and the reason is, if you think of a PvP guild, you should think of it as kind of a machine. I've compared it to like a fan blade motor before. You've ever noticed on fan blades, or like on fans, you notice the highest setting is the first one you tick it to. It's like 3, 2, 1. You tick it over, right? That's because the fan needs a kickstart to get going. It's very difficult for the fan motor to start, especially if there's not like a big jolt of activity to kind of get it going in the first place. That's why the motors are set this way. Siege guilds and PvP guilds in BDO are very similar. Once you get the machinery in place, it'll just run forever. Like, no big deal. But like things like Show Nation, Digital, Corrupt, Atlas, and all these other guilds that have kind of fallen apart, and Barcode and all them, that have kind of fallen apart, and all the EU scene as well. All of that machinery has now stopped moving. As long as the machine is moving, it's not that big of a deal.
Spot booking enak aja. DFS lah anjing.
You still have people
Heran nih orang-orang zaman sekarang nggak mau DFS tai. Mental aja lemah banget anjing.
You need a jump start to bring those back into motion. Okay, so in this case, simply band-aid fixing and giving us the option to fight on uncapped with the old Node War system is not nearly enough to bring people back to that PvP system for any reason. You need a full jump start to bring us back. So you to bring PvPers back. You would need to completely rework the Node War system or give us a PvP system, a large-scale PvP system that people are going to get excited about, like a new one. And they did not do that. They gave us, like I said, a band-aid fix, thinking that their players will come back to play PvP, and that's just not going to happen. Now, again, I don't want to sound like a doomer, but this is like the part of the dev note that was really the most negative. That was the most poorly received, I think, aspect of the entire dev note, as there was really no positive light at the end of the tunnel for PvPers for any reason. So PvPers are not going to come back and play BDO, not over the next few months. It is what it is. Now, let's move towards the more positive aspects of the dev. Okay, go ahead, Lon.
I wanted to comment on your Node War commentary. I think that you're hitting like some really key points, talking about old parts, old machinery, not moving like a fan, right? I think that's such an apt description because I feel like all the old parts are like they're so old and rusted and just like it's not working. We need a whole new machine.
Correct.
Which when you're saying jumpstart makes me think we got to throw out the old PC and bring in a new one, right?
Yeah.
We need some
Right.
brand like I don't think any fix to the Node War system because right now it's like you get like buffs and rewards and money and everything's there that should have been in the older systems, but now you've got it on a system you don't want to play. All these new systems and all the things they've done to Node War is absolutely it's like the Godfather. I mean, look at how they've massacred my boy, right? Like it's nothing what it used to be, but it has some rewards to like. Maybe the new generation they're thinking of players is incentivized to go do those things like the PvE side of players, but like no PvPers are wanting to do this thing. And when you say a new jumpstart, in my mind the only thing that's coming up is like a whole brand new system, like not Node Wars, not this or that, something else, like sort of like AOS, sort of like the Guild League, but something that just gets a bunch of people to go fight in areas. I mean, like even you know, what is it? Is it RBFs are like empty these days, right? Because people just aren't incentivized to go and do those things. And I don't even necessarily know if it has to be money or anything in particular, because right now the Node Wars do have some pretty good rewards, I'm pretty sure, with the buffs and the money and all that stuff. So it's like, I don't even think that's it. I just think that the negative sentiment from them just not listening for such a long time has just made it so people are just like,
It's rough.
even if it's something good, it's like one good thing and 10 bad things. It's like, yeah, people I think have completely dropped it. And
Right.
yeah, I think it needs a whole new, like you said, jump start. Because
Well, like-
I don't think that even rewards, it has to be the system,
The system
in
needs
place
to be
that
changed.
changes.
Yep,
Yeah.
and that's
For it to-
the thing I want to add to is that I could have articulated more is that the old system is not good enough. You can't just bring us back the old system and expect guilds to come back.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
The old
No,
system
no one
had
will.
its
They've
own
already done
flaws.
it, right?
Yeah,
They've done it
right.
for years. They want something new.
The old system had its own flaws and its own problems, and that is simply not going to cut it anymore because now again all of these other guilds have quit now, and they're not just going to come back to play the old system. That's not good enough. It needs to be something new, like and fresh, and it's actually good. And in order to get that, you're going to have to pull in actual PvPers from around the world and ask their opinion. Like sincerely, I think if they just flew out 2 or 3 representatives from each country, from like top-end PvP leadership guilds, like they could pay for their entire trip, all expenses paid. Have them come, give them the feedback in Korea, give them the feedback on like an actual panel, and build a system that follows what they tell them to do. They would make millions of dollars. They could literally, like, they would make millions of dollars off the players coming back to the game and the excitement that new systems like that would bring. But again, it doesn't even have to be flying them in. They could just like Discord call with people or like listen to them on a panel. Like all they would have to do is listen to their community, but they need to actually listen. And this is a big problem that I think Choice has done an excellent job of explaining. Is in his dev talk discussion and then some of his other comments that I can't explain, but like Perlibus for some reason just always thinks, you know what I'm talking about. Perlibus just always seems to think that they know what's best for the community, even if the community's screaming that they want one thing, Perlibus does another. And so like, if we want one thing, they won't even if they concede and give us that thing, it will be like half or 30% of what we it'll be like their vision of it. No, in this case, you don't know how to build a good PvP system. We could build a better one if you just listen to us. If they listened to their actual players and followed 90% of what they said, they would do much better. They would create a system that I think would drive a lot of players back to the game. Let's be honest, we have the best in genre combat, right? But like, as it is, giving us the band-aid fix is really gonna do nothing positive for the community. But let's move on to the I'm not trying to doom. It's just that I wanted to talk about like the negative stuff.
Do you think that if they like disabled Node Wars, War of the Roses, all this stuff, and almost like starved the community of these things, that then introducing a whole new system, like say they spent like the last 6 months to a year developing a whole new, not Node War, but some kind of fighting war thing that people can PvP in, and they starve the community by taking that stuff out, and then like it floods back in with a new thing, would that even work? Because I feel like people are just, I think at this point it just feels like people are just exhausted, right? They want something new, but they're also like bro, I'm like tired because I've been trying all
and
this
like,
stuff. Like I wonder if that would be something. I mean, I'm not incentivizing like starving the community of what they want, but I mean, for example, Throne and Liberty, people have been wanting overworld PvP and fighting, and Throne and Liberty's come at this kind of perfect time for everybody to hop on and be like, oh my god, I'm getting everything. I'm running around, I'm PvPing, everything's open world, we're all killing each other. Like that's, you know, the fun that people wanted is kind of being addressed in that kind of way. Not perfectly, you know, but
God no.
in
But, like,
some ways it's like scratching that itch, right?
It is, for now. And like the biggest problem, yeah, and again, this is just PvPers. We're just talking about the PvPers.
Right.
We're going to talk, most of this discussion is going to be about everyone else because everyone else matters way more. And like, I think that they're headed in a certain, and this is where I'm going to say, I don't think they really care too much. I think that they're just going to give us the band-aid fix, and then that's going to be it, probably. I think the game has fundamentally, quintessentially shifted away from PvP. And it's time for the PvPers. I think that PvPers just are moving on to other games, and that's just the way that it goes. Prolibus wants their game to be a PvE-focused MMO, casual MMO, and that's just it is what it is, right? And that's why now let's go ahead and shift. Unless Jay has something to add, let's go ahead and shift our discussion over to the Charizard. Go ahead.
It's gonna be okay. I may have okay. What I would like to add is that I have brain rot, and all I could think about was when you were talking about electric fans and the fan blades was being a kid and talking to the fan to sound like a robot, and I just remember having so much fun until I was bored, and that's all I'd like to add. So
okay, so Jay's been zoned out. I do want to address somebody in the chat that said revive the game, ban Blue, easy fix. He's too influential of a doomer. I have actually not been doing any Doom content for the last week or so. I have not, and you'll notice the game has still been declining hard. It's not my fault.
It's not me.
It's not me.
It's not
and
me,
that's just,
guys.
I've been away from the Doomer content. I have very intentionally only posted content that is like more positive about the game and more reasonable about the game. I'll probably do some gear advice today as well. Like again, I'm trying to be like a reasonable influence on the game, but like it's no secret that the game is declining. I think that there's copers out there that blame the content creators, and like sure the content creators don't necessarily help, I guess, but like they are helping in the sense that like they're the only way that we can reach the developers. At least that's what the community feels.
I agree on that point. I do think that you know, commentators, you know, the people in the commentary community, the content creators, also have a way of shaping the community in a way. I think that obviously you're on some copium if everybody's like plastered on smiles, like the game is good, guys, the game is good.
Yeah,
obviously, like not
what are we
in that
talking
way.
about? Yeah, like
Right.
what's happening?
But
Like,
I think that there's a way for us to always put a positive spin on things, which, you know, it can be tough, but, you know, I think it shapes it in a way, for sure.
right. But I just want to address that a little bit, as Rita's one of my regular viewers. I hope that they were joking, but like I really have been making
Rita's trolling her, of course.
Yeah. Well, I've been really trying to like put out content that is more positive about the game, which is why the majority of this discussion is going to be more positive. But like that was kind of like the BVP discussion, and that's not dooming. That's just, it's not really dooming. It's really
reality,
just being real. Yeah, we're just being real.
Yeah.
Like if the game's moving away from PvP,
No copium.
it is what it is. Now let's talk about the more fun stuff, which is the Charizard accessories. The Charizard accessories are a very exciting shift in the progression system of BDO. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts on it real quick are. Jay, we'll start with you since you haven't gotten to talk a whole lot. What are your thoughts on the Charizard accessories?
Look at you, just gifted 5 subs.
It's, as I mentioned before, it's, you know, it's a new powerful accessory that we're going to be all working towards. It allows us to utilize our Deboreka accessories again to, you know, it's not going to be a waste, right? Our Deborah accessories are going to be useful for that. But at the same time, again, I mean, it all depends on what we're going to be able to use these accessories for, right? What kind of content for. And I'm really hoping that, again, the Land of Morning Light grind spots give us that something, because it's just going to be like, I want to just grind for my car side accessories, and then I go back to Olin's Valley, and then repeat until I have everything. And so even though we're getting something more, something to aim for, to strive for again, I don't want to be running in that same circle over and over again for, you know, that thing. So I really, really hope that they give us some content to use this pieces of gear on. So
Yeah.
that's all. Yeah.
Okay, Blonde, what's your take on the Kirazat accessories overall?
Overall, I think it's a positive swing in the right direction, right? I think that for the last year plus, people have been plagued with the concept of needing 30 bill for 11,000 crons to do their from the vendor, because they're not getting costumes, so that they can buy crons and go click on a Devo, watch it downgrade, then spend another 10 bill for 2405 crons for the tech click, then fail that, then downgrade, and they're just like, okay, I'm down bad, guess I'm logging out for a week, right? I think that in the sense of that image, I think the game's in a positive upswing with this specific update, because what this does is basically crons no longer downgrade, which is what people have been begging for a long time for the accessories. And now it's
No. They don't disappear. They do downgrade.
They downgrade.
Yes, they do.
No. Failure
no.
does not destroy it. Cronstones will
Okay,
stop the downgrade.
I took it back. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Cronstones, if you use Cronstones, no matter what,
Yes.
it cannot disappear. But if
It
you
is
use
like armor and
Cronstones,
weapons
it
now.
cannot downgrade, right?
Yeah, essentially
Yes,
the accessories
correct.
will now
Yeah, I
become
apologize.
armor and weapons.
I'm sorry.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
okay. No, it's okay. I thought the same thing first, and I was like, wait. But I pulled up the page so I don't misquote it, right? I got the exact dev commentary summary, but so now, like, this thing that's been plaguing people is the downgrading system, reinvesting into a material, and this was prior to pities. Now we've had pities. I think that the system is just everything everybody's been asking for, right? Now we have pities, which are at a reasonable rate, right? I think that the sovereign weapons are pretty decent on their rates. We now have 10 levels of enhancements, so instead of me having to grind a week straight, 2 weeks straight to get 30 billion crons to do one pen Devo click, now I can get 1,000 crons, I can get 1,200 crons, I can get 13, 1,500, however many the amounts are, right? Because we're looking at like the sovereigns, for examples. These are much easier, reasonable goals, and although they are smaller upgrades, I think it is way easier for me to set a goal, like, oh, I'll grind 2 hours. Oh, okay, that's like, by tomorrow I'll be able to click. I'll do an attempt. Today, maybe, depending on what stage of the gear. Obviously, I'm looking at I'm 8, 9, 10. But for this is the minority of the players. You're looking at a majority. Now players are technically just like the Devos. They are funneled into one specific gear system. But what this does with the upcoming thing is the unique crystal slot to create add-on crystals that then alter the accessories. So I think they're answering multiple problems on top of the fact that these materials also use old materials. So similar to your favorite game, Blue RuneScape, they use all of the pre-game systems to upgrade into the new game systems, which I think it's W after W after W. I know the main criticism is going to be, but crons. Listen, I get it. It's not the funnest, but at least you're not doing an 11,000 cron click. You're doing a 1,000, a 1,500, a 2,000, right? I think that, if it's not crons, it's going to be low drop rates for the material to enhance it. If it's not that, it's going to be, you're going to need an absorption amount of silver for some other upgrade. So on the general point, I think it's a massive W, to be honest.
I think that overall, I think it was a W. I do not think it was a massive W. I think this is part of what made it such a mixed review from the community. Is I think that in one area you have the Karazad, you finally have some build diversity. Okay, so you're taking away some build diversity, and that now you need 6 Karazads no matter what. Before you only need 5 Devos, and then you can replace the last accessory slot with whatever you wanted. Okay, well now you can't do that. Now you have to have 6 Karazad. However, it's one step back, 2 steps forward for build diversity. Right, and that's what I think people like. They found a good area where, you build your 6 Karazad, and then you equip it with whatever crystals that you want, and these crystals cannot break. And the crystals are very impactful, like gear stats, where you're either getting evasion or DR, accuracy, or whatever. And we're getting some much-needed build diversity overall in the build pattern of BDO. Yes, you're losing some build diversity and having all 6 Karazads, but you're gaining some. So again, one step forward or one step back, two steps forward in that regard. I think that the part that makes it really controversial, like Blonde said, and the biggest criticism of the Charizard accessories overall, is the fact that they're still omega reliant on Cron Stones. I'm not sure what the developers were thinking with regards to this. Like they said that, like, you know, it's not going to require crons as much for players anymore. Well, yeah, it does, right? It's not like you're going to get it to Hex and then be like, risk a downgrade, right? Because you could go right back to base. Like of course players are required to use Cron Stones for this enhancement. It's obnoxious to think that they wouldn't be. Yes, it doesn't blow up, and I guess that feels pretty good, but like also it's going to downgrade, which stinks, you know? Like, and so players are still going to be required to use Crons, and we're still in the same situation that we were in before, where there's just too many Cron Stones being used for not enough gear. I don't know how to say it. It's just too much Cron Stones. The reliance on Cron Stones is a very controversial hot button topic. And like, again, I'll say it until I'm blue in the face. The only way we're ever going to get off Cron Stones is if they monetize the game around something that isn't Cron Stones. Currently, the game is completely monetized around Cron Stones and buying outfits off the market to get more Cron Stones. That's basically the where they make most of their money, and they're not willing to sacrifice that. I think that if they took a step away from that as their monetization and went towards cosmetics, as there's a number of things they could do, more emotes, more dances, skill effects on weapons, special weapon skins that cost a lot of money, right? Like they could do a lot of different things and step away from Cron Stones, and then at that point, Cron Stones don't become as much of an issue anymore because you can just give players Cron Stones without losing your bottom line income. So like Cron Stones themselves are really not a super problem. The problem that Cron Stones create is that you can shortcut your gear by spending money or by waiting for the market. So people feel that either one of two things is happening. Either they feel pressured to pay to win and buy outfits from the market, buy outfits from the Pearl Shop, or they feel pressured, like they feel like their content is time gated, like they can only do a click every so many days because they have to wait to get their outfits off the marketplace. And time gated content and then like forced pay to win content does not feel very good. Or you can literally grief yourself by buying Cron Stones from the vendors. So like, you know, like you're asking a player to just throw away more hours of their life so that they can do more attempts more frequently. That just doesn't feel very good. And again, this is why we're in this situation. And Crons wouldn't be that big of a deal if they were able to give us, you know, if they were able to hand away a bunch of Cron Stones regularly, I don't think that anyone would care. But like the fact that that's where the primary pay-to-win system of the game comes in, and also the time gating that it takes to buy these Cron Stones in the marketplace, you know, that's where a lot of the criticism for the Charizards is going to come in. And I don't disagree with that criticism. I think they offered us a solution for build diversity, but did not offer us a solution for the Cron Stone thing. They made us more reliant on Cron Stones than we were before, because the other, like the 6th accessory, you didn't necessarily need to Cron. Now you have to Cron your 6th accessory too. So like, yes, it's going to take less Crons per enhancement click, but it's just Cron Stones everywhere. It's just literally Cron Stones everywhere. Now,
I do agree with the sentiment because the alternative is we go back to like back in the day when it was like pride to pen armor and weapons, right? You would raw tap up to Tet, and then if you felt risky and had a bunch of materials, you'd raw tap pen because we weren't cronning back then because we didn't make as
feel
much
required.
silver.
Yep.
So like, but you didn't feel required. So I agree the alternative is that, but that system back then we had like empty markets and we had no silver gain. So I feel like that system was built by, like the system was enabled by the fact that we didn't have resources and money, right? You had to grind out hards and sharps by going and life skilling in the game. You didn't have those plentiful in the market. I just think
I
that
was waiting at the NPC, just like
having
the central market.
right, yeah, exactly. Now
sharps.
exactly. Now you have a system where the markets are plentiful. The gold, the silver generation is plentiful in the game, and so the only way to really curb that is by having essentially a silver sink. I do agree, and I wrote this down. I do agree that all the miniature things you do in the game, like doing your rift bosses, I get 5 crons for my rift boss. Like, my next upgrade is 11,000 crons, right? Why am I not getting 100 crons for this? I think that there's so many of those older supplemental systems in the game that if they just buffed the crons by like 100 to 200%, you could get so much more value out of things. But I agree with your point that they don't want to incentivize that because they want to incentivize people buying crons for outfits and selling and stuff like that. So, I think that if that was curbed,
Apa
maybe
aja?
they could buff
Bubur?
those systems.
Kari?
Rather than like I know you said
Oh.
giving them out. I obviously understand that you probably mean like systems in the game that
Yeah,
give you
correct.
prawns essentially,
Yeah.
right? Like if the prawns were buffed from Pit of Undying, if the new reworked Altar of Blood gave prawns
Yeah, but-
depending on what wave you got to weekly. If the boss blitzes, like right now the boss blitzes are nuts. The weekly group boss blitz, you're getting memory fragments, you're getting a bunch of other accessories, you're sometimes getting the crystals, you're getting the coins from the new region, so you can rebuy crystals if you break them. There's some of these little things sprinkled in
Okay.
that it's like, man, can we take this
Lah,
new
karinya?
system that we just got and sprinkle these
Oh.
essentially crons into these old systems? Like there's so many of these
Yeah,
these things
bubur.
that they could just kind of sprinkle them throughout, and it wouldn't feel like it was overwhelming,
udah.
but it would incentivize the players to not just grind. Oh,
Okay.
I haven't done my Dark Rift bosses in months, because why do I want 5 crons or an accessory worth 20 million silver? Like, I have no incentive to do that.
Well, it
But
feels
if those
time-gated,
crons
right?
were like, well, it is a little time gated, but if we have like 20 different time gated systems, there's always going to be something for you to do, right? Even for the average player that only grinds like 1 to 2 hours a day, I'll go grind for an hour to 2 hours, then I'll go do my Dark Rift boss, take a few minutes. Like, there's all these little systems they could add
Huh?
to enhance that sort of thing, and the fact that it's only drops like 5 crons here, 10 crons there is such a... I don't understand why they don't buff that kind of stuff. And the same thing back onto the point of like upgrading the Pride through Pen. Back in the day, you had to do life skills
Meme.
to get sharps. That way you could enhance your gear. Life skills have been completely, not to get on a doom point, but they've been kind of neglected. Like the only thing we're doing is hunting. Like I think that's the only profitable like life skill, right? Other than like I guess bartering, but that's like. Do you time bartering based on time spent actually bartering, and then like, you log off, and then it's like, oh well, over an hour I made like a 5 billion silvers. I don't think you calculate it that way, but yeah, it's yeah.
Yeah, I think that
it can go with some criticism for sure.
if they like, it's bad for, like I said, the 2 reasons before. It's pay to win, time gated,
right.
feels bad, right? If you add like a lot more crons, I'm not talking like, guys, we buffed. Somebody in chat said this, so I'm just gonna use it shamelessly. Guys, we buffed Garmoth Cronstone out by 200%. Oh, great, now I'm getting 4 crons. You know what I mean? Like, oh, sweet. Like, no. It's got to be hundreds, right? If they gave away...
Do a Dark Rift, get 100,
If they gave away
Apa?
Cronstones regularly for events and stuff, people would feel like it's...
Masaknya
less time,
simple.
and they would feel less pressure to, like, do the pay-to-win stuff.
Nggak often.
That people would probably appreciate that more. And so, like, I think it's a workable system. Like, I don't think that... Nobody really cares if it relies on Cronstones. We've been on Cronstones for a while. It's just that lately they just keep upping the Cron price without
Abis gue dingin
increasing
banget.
the which means that, and for obvious reasons, right?
Ya udah nyalain.
Money. They're never gonna like that's like everybody keeps saying they need to give away more Crons. They're never gonna do that. Money.
Not possible.
Yeah, they won't make any money. So like, yeah, I'm just. Again,
yeah.
I think that but focusing on the positive.
Right.
Like that's the controversial issue, right? The positive thing is I don't think anybody disagrees. The adding the crystals like enchantments to those Cronstones is a good thing. It's a win.
Yeah,
right?
They mentioned that it's going to have accuracy, damage reduction, and then they say etc. Every person I've talked to, when I'm like, bro, like Vahas are going to have a minus DP plus AP variance. They're going to have like an evasion variant. They're going to like it blows my mind. I've talked to a few people and they're like, no. They only said accuracy and DR, and I'm like, that's not the only accessory type.
Apaan?
Vahas and Distos and Ominous and Dawns and this. Like we've got so many types. It kind of is so weird. Everybody's like, no, they're not going to do that. I'm like,
Mungkin.
why wouldn't they?
I don't think they are.
to.
I'm just
If
gonna
they're
say.
gonna have a DR variant and also these new artifacts that are DR and HP, there's no way they wouldn't add an AP. Like that would be crazy mind blowing that they wouldn't, right?
Blonde, I think they're only gonna have like 4. I think that if they were gonna have like
Really?
15, yeah. And the reason is
Why wouldn't they just say that though? They say accuracy,
well,
damage reduction,
here's the
etc.
deal.
So there's only
Blonde,
2 more in those etc.
think about it, yeah. Well, think about it, Blonde.
No way.
Wouldn't they show us if there was giving guys? Look at all these 15 different. There's gonna be like a bunch of different. Don't you
No
think that
way.
they would have
They're
showed
gonna
us
have-
that in the dev
Dude,
note
no
if
way.
they were gonna give it? I don't know, man. I think
Dude,
it's kind of close, bro.
Think of every accessory we have. We have an AP, we have
Huh?
accuracy, we have DR, we have evasion, we have a BSR
Apaan
regen,
tuh?
and then there's potential for more. I know Jay has talked about this. Jake Boone right here has talked about, oh, I want all these abilities to have variants on them, like HP this or this and that. This is that way that he's been talking about for a long
Yeah,
time.
I'd love it
In
too.
the future, potential for this is like say we go to Demon Land, and Demon Land has a special crystal, a new accessory or crystal thing that turns into an accessory crystal that's like, oh, it's special demon damage, and then you enhance your stuff by getting upgraded crystals. Like there's so much potential for the system that opens up. It's a wide variety of ways to continuously upgrade these things.
Let's be clear, Bond. It doesn't mean that they might release it with like 4 or 5 options, but that doesn't mean that they can't add more later.
For sure.
Right?
For
Like
sure.
I
think they will.
I'm not trying to doom about it. I just think that sincerely, when it does come out, I think there's probably only going to be like 4 or 5, and then they hopefully just
maybe initially.
expand on
Yeah,
it. Yeah,
I
they
can
just
agree with that. Maybe
expand on it
initially,
up to like 10. You know what I mean? And like then you have your options, right? So again, I think that the Charizard is a step in the right direction for PvE build diversity. I think that overall people had mixed feelings about it, but like, and I think that PvE players will eventually come back to play the game, and like progression-based players will probably come back to play the game at least somewhat based on the change. Although I will say that if you look through the comments and stuff, and obviously the people that are the most upset are going to be the most vocal, but like most of the comments are based around the Kron thing. I don't think that anyone is saying that the design on the Charizard is necessarily the worst thing. Yeah, again, like it's the focus on the Krons, and like I don't know if they're actually going to be able to get away from it. They haven't really acknowledged that Kron
look at it
stones
this
are a
way.
problem.
It's like if it's not Krons, it's going to be what it was before Krons, which was the fact that we had no materials. And if it's no materials, then it's the fact that it takes a lot of playtime. So it's always going to boil down to this is the only way they know how to time gate us based on how much billions of silver we make versus how much they want people to progress in the game, while also being at low rates for succession. I think that it's the only like way that they quote unquote time gate the game without time gating it, by essentially letting it be. If you want to grind this out, you have all the capability. I think that it's always just going to boil down to that, and I think that Krons with pity with the current system is going to be better than leaving it completely up to RNG, because back when it was just you could go 20 hours without a debo dropping, that was, I think people were way more frustrated about those systems than they are. I mean, I think it's so easy because just saying the word Kron invokes a bunch of feelings. I think that it's so easy to just be like, it's the Krons, right? And I get the sentiment. I totally understand it. But it's going to be that, or it's going to be the next best thing, right? I think that it's just the nature of it, and that's what's led to BDO's longevity, right? The fact that people have been grinding this game since the beginning, and some people still have not caught up. I think that's, as much as people complain that it's the frustrating thing about the game, if you caught up in gear, you're in J Coon's boots right now, where he's like, yeah, I kind of been grinding the same spot, and I'm kind of bored. I wish there was something to do. Yeah, yes. That's not where you want to be. Trust me. Ask Jackie. You don't want to be there. You want to have something exciting to go for. And like you said, Blue, you want to have something motivating, which we'll see in the next few panels of the dev commentary summary. I have some exciting stuff to talk about. So.
I want to give Jay a chance to speak on this because Juan and I have been kind of dominating the discussion. Jay, go right ahead, buddy.
You're good. You pretty much covered everything that I was going to say.
Okay, Jay, just taking all our points, huh?
I agree, yeah. The Kron stones, the C word, don't say it. It's going to invoke a lot.
Well, how do you feel about the new accessories? Do you think it's a positive, like
what do you think overall?
for the game, or did you
I'm really excited for if they plan to take it further, as as you mentioned before, about expanding upon it to maybe affect even maybe special, your skills, right? Like maybe I'm taking a little bit too much from TNL, but they have like the skill specializations. That's what I've been talking about in the podcast for the last like year and a half that we've been doing this, is a way to customize those abilities. I always bring up the class of Witch, right? Like what if the Voltaic was not just a what if Voltaic wasn't like a circular AoE, and it's a line AoE that's like long range, right? That's something you can maybe spec into, and so maybe these accessories could be a way to get into that. And so I'll
What's up, niggas?
wait and see what they. So there was like only 4, right? 4.
They teased like 4, right, Blonde? It was like teased 4. Yeah, something around there. 4. Yeah, it's not gonna be enough, but like it is what it is. I agree. And I actually want to touch on. I'm gonna use Blonde as a segue off the demo, unless there's more you want to talk about here.
There is more I do want to talk about.
Okay, go ahead, Blonde.
Okay, so we talked about Charizard. Actually, I wanted to probe your point, or the point because think about them giving a free +1. People that are at 10 Devo now go to 9, and now we only have one more upgrade. What's up with that? Where's
then you turn it in for the new accessory, and then you only have one more enhancement to go. If you have a 10 demo, you're getting the equivalent turn-in. You're not getting the upgraded version. So I think that this is bad for 2 reasons, and like I understand that like this is a bit of a hot take, but like I'm gonna be honest. I think that rewarding your end game, like the players that already went through the crons and got their demos, blah 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 blah. Like the rich get richer.
Feeding into that sentiment real hard right now.
I'm just being honest. Like I think that rewarding the players that already have pen demos and punishing the new and mid game players who, let's be honest, you're now making the game for, right? Like that's like paving the future. Is a mistake. I think that is not a good idea because you're basically punishing people for not having pen demos yet, and people are not going to be crazy happy about that. But it's really not that big of a deal. I think on the flip side of it, now if you have a pen demo, congratulations, you now have the end game accessory, and you're basically done. You only have one more.
Yeah, you don't. Even with the new system, you don't have more to go. You have a pen falling god to hit. That's what you have right now. It's like, wait a second, I wanted something realistic to go for.
Yeah, it's a little.
And now I'm freaking fricked, bro. Like this was supposed to be the next. You should have given us like it should have been like 3 more levels of enhancement. Make my pen a 7. Make their tents like a 3 or 4, and then we got like a lot more progression. But then, you know, then you feed into the sentiment like, well, I'm already grinding circles, now I gotta grind more circles. So I feel like the argument can kind of go both ways. Another thing is, now that we have these new accessories, we're not gonna be cheering at grind spots when we get a drop. I feel like that's something we're gonna kind of lose, is unless they create a new drop. When I go grind at whatever new grind spot they're gonna come out with, I'm not excited I got a debo now. I'm gonna be, like, I mean, I guess because it's raw silver, sure, in that way, but I'm not like, oh, Pog, a drop, I'm gonna click my gear. I feel like that's something that's gonna kind of get lost in time. You know what I mean? Like, we're not gonna be cheering for a new drop other than the fact that it's just gonna be raw money. Kind of feels a little bad.
I mean, like, it feels a little bad for the in-game players, I think, that only are going to get... And to be honest with you, I hate to be this guy, but it feels like really low-effort content. Herazade feels extremely low effort, and like...
I think it was kind of obvious it was the next stage, right? Where
it
other
is the
direction
next
can
stage,
they go,
but like,
right? This is it.
Are we going to like the Quintep upgrade? Are you just going to go to like 15? You know, you're going to go to 20? Right.
Oh, I don't know what the next stage is. I think they're not going to be touching accessories for a while because this kind of sets up every accessory slot for every player.
People are going to be done on day 1. What are we talking about?
Whoa. Hold on. The end game players are going to be done when they hit the 9 and convert it. But
yeah, they're done.
There's no real incentive to go past 8. It's 1 AP and 1 accuracy, which isn't going to change or break a grind spot. Every upgrade before, I think 8 or 9, is like it's like 2 to 3 AP per click, and depending on the accessory, I think necklace will probably be more because we're obviously looking at the ring right now. But everything goes up. It's like 1 and 3 and 1 and 3 and then 1 at the last 2 levels. So technically, 8, 9, 10 is like it's like essentially Fallen God. You're not going to click it because we're not even getting brackets at that level for it to even matter. The only thing that matters is 1 to 8. So I think like there is a reasonable amount of gap to clear for those players that are working on that. But I think that it's just silly at the like there's no, and this is what I talked about, and I know the game's not focused on people that are like at the far end game like me or Jay, right? We're looking at the mid game to new players. We want to incentivize new players, saying our new gear system is way better because you can just go throughout the whole thing rather than like picking and choosing and swapping accessories. But to look at the end game players a little bit, I'm sorry, spotlight on us. The fact that like there's no meaningful upgrade past this from 9 to 10. It's only 1 AP, and also even with the new weapons and everything, our brackets aren't even like massive. Although I know when they added brackets and added what was the system where we had like the gear score or whatever.
That one. Renown.
When we had Renown, people were awesome. They were excited about it initially, and then as soon as they figured out how broken it was, they were like, "Holy crap, this is horrible!" And it feels so weird for now to be like, "Well, where's our brackets, guys?" Like it's kind of like I get 1 AP and that's it. I find it so weird that we didn't get some crazier big brackets for more and more AP to incentivize players like Jay and I. There's nothing, like for example, Jay's not going to get a meaningful upgrade. God, for maybe years.
You bring up a good point. If they're not going to touch accessories for a while, shouldn't they have made it like the Pen Karazad equivalent to Pen Devo, and then let them enhance 5 levels or something?
I agree.
Like,
I agree. It should have been maybe something like that. However, I think that the new upgrades are not going to be vertical. I think they're going to be horizontal. I think everything's going to be new crystals that you implant into your gear. I think it's going to be a lot of horizontal upgrading, which, in my opinion, actually generally feels better than constant vertical upgrade, right? I think that this allows them an opportunity to we've got augments on our like what's going to happen to the cups with our accessories, right? Are they going to turn that into another augment or crystal? Like I think you literally can't have them have cups on them, right? We've got the new crystals coming into that, and then I think that there's just going to be more and more of these like sort of horizontal stacking systems that make it so it's like you're not looking at like, oh man, I have such a massive length to fill. You're looking at, okay, I'm making meaningful progress, but I'm also horizontally expanding so much, which I think in general is a good system. Like some of the best games have a lot of horizontal gains rather than consistent vertical stuff.
Pasti power sudah tamat. Belum bang.
Video leaves like a massive.
Ini ngabisin agris sebentar, terus ntar cabut lagi ke power. Nanti kita see you again next week grindingnya.
Silver, there's a lot of silver in this spot. If you want raw trash because you don't want, drop chance money, like there's that. There's a lot of these. It's expanding so much that like quite literally.
Abis lu kasih gua lah motivasi buat grinding apa? Gear gua salah satu yang di atas sekarang. Mau ngapain lagi?
Okay, let's talk about another positive thing from the dev note though. Land of the Morning Light is getting grinds out.
Kecuali kalau gear gua kayak lu lah. Lu gearlet, lu harus grinding. Gua mah nggak perlu. Grinding itu optional buat gua. Tapi masalahnya kan lu gearlet. Ya, buat lu mungkin lu harus grinding. Buat gua nggak harus grinding. Karena gua udah gearet jatuhnya. Itu grinding berapa jam Minnesota? Total grinding apa?
Be clear. Grinding in circles and enjoying it is, and then complaining about it publicly and then continuing to go do it, that's part of the gameplay loop of BDO.
Yeah, okay, sure.
You're gonna complain about like we are naturally.
Kalau total mah nih 20.832 jam.
More places to go grind. What a loser. I can't wait to go do these. You know what I mean?
Still grinding every day, bro. They can't log off.
Like, you can complain about it all you want, but we actually enjoyed doing it. And so like, giving us more grind zones.
Kalau gua gearnya kayak lu mah yang nggak nyampe 760 mah gua bakal grinding. Masalahnya lu kalau udah di atas 760 ya nyari motivasi buat grinding itu udah mulai sulit. Iya, ngabisin lagi sebentar, ya paling 4-5 jam. Kan bentar.
Listen, the potential's there. Right, like for example, Mountain of Eternal Winter 2, one of the best Mountain of Eternal Winter in general.
Yalah, 4-5 jam doang, Bang. Buset.
Cool and interesting mechanic was what was it? The spider one. No. Well, Jape is okay, but what was the spider one?
That's Mirrorwax.
Mirrorwax was super cool. You have no idea how many other people are fighting in this tunnel to summon a boss. That's essentially what the new pig spot is, right?
Yeah, I love
so now it's like it's not technically a grind spot, but we're all kind of chilling in the same area, grinding, maybe chatting, and then you get a jackpot at the end. And then maybe this is like similar to
4-5 jam itu bentar, coy.
Stolen or whatever, like the rings were from whatchamacallit spot, the Dawn spot. What was it in the cave? The Shadow. I can't remember, but it was the duo spot where people come and PvP you and steal your boss.
Habis itu gua take a break for 1 weekend. Minggu depan 100.000 agris kita grinding lagi 4 jam 5 jam. Nah gitu aja pengen gua sekarang. Literally dari kemarin gua cuma login untuk ngambil daily dong. Daily ngomong sama Bartali.
I'm super excited. That's the only one they technically showcased. They said there's going to be Hongland base and Dokkaebi, but the Golden Pig Cave having the the jackpot. It's like, listen, if this is the new
ini ya, world boss yang di level 2 aja ya. Gua udah males ngerjain. Reforce-nya gua udah punya semua. Sisanya gua nggak butuh lah. Extra silver paling berapa sih?
because like we haven't gotten like legitimate new grind zones.
Ini jujur gue belum ada motivasi nih. Gue nunggu ACC baru ini. Mungkin abis itu ada motivasi.
For some reason, I don't know who gives them the feedback that like we like the Dekia grind zones. But,
Dude,
like,
it feels like it's like 2 to 3 years old feedback finally
Yeah.
getting to them. Because I'm not
That's
gonna lie,
what I
2 to 3
mean.
years ago,
Yeah, there's like-
I did miss Mirmak, I did miss Geistern, and then they
True.
revamped them a little bit, and it's like, okay, wait, we're getting Dekia 2 of them. I
Yeah.
mean, it is gonna be nice for some of my older homies who are excited about it. But like in general, it's like, bro, that wave has that ship has sailed. Like,
good.
no one's excited about that anymore because everything keeps being the revamp stuff, which. You know, maybe players that are returning from a long time ago, it's like a little nostalgia, a little bit kind of, but it's like, okay, like I want something new. Give me a new monster, give me something crazy. And it is weird that it's all just revamped, you know?
Yeah,
what I
it's
mean?
just really strange. Like, I don't know, when it first started, they got really good feedback on it, and then every time they introduced a new zone, they're just like Cadres came out, and we're like, who asked? Like, what are we talking about? Like, I don't understand why they keep doing this. Like, there's a lot of negative feedback on the Dekia content now, because they've been doing it for so long. At first, it was like, okay, this is kind of cool, and now it's like, because they've just been doing it for years now, it's like, okay, well, are we actually gonna get new stuff? Like, because like the last time we got new grind zones, let's be honest, that was Hulakita, and they said that those were low effort, no mechanic grind zones, so like people weren't really satisfied a crazy amount with Hulakita. They did them, right? A lot of people grind Godrid and stuff like that, but like, it just really didn't scratch the itch fully, and then everything since then has been Dekia, and we're sick of Dekia. So the new Land of the Morning Light stuff is cool because it's new, you know what I mean? And like, I'm curious, like, what's exactly gonna drop there and stuff like that, and that's gonna be a lot of fun to kind of play around with. I think it'll be really cool when it comes out in 2029. But seriously, I don't know when it's gonna come out. I'm really hoping that like it's like right around the ball time in a couple months, but like we will see. Okay, so anything else we want to talk about from the dev note? I'm gonna be honest. Are you guys good with a 2-hour podcast? Because this might be a 2-hour.
Yeah, I'm down. Sure.
This might be because we've only hit the dev note so far, and like we have not gotten to the other big discussion that we have, you know, to go. And like that's our own fault because like honestly, it's not our fault. It's Jakun's fault. He's the one that keeps dodging the podcast every week for Throne Liberty like a rat.
Yeah, definitely the reason.
Yes.
The last thing I wanted to mention on the dev commentary summary is the fact that the last statement they made in the video and also on the panels they posted. More servers are on the way, so interesting, fun to do maybe. I'm not really hyped about it, but for particular players that want to do that kind of stuff, it could revive something. You know, you're going to be in the gulag, having fun, stuff like that. You know, if you like that, that's cool. But the main thing is that they said we're gearing up for content that'll inspire new goals as opposed to the recent expanding updates. Now, obviously, vague posting, so we can't really,
Super vague.
it's all just speculation.
And that's the trick, is to be really vague so that we can cope
Yes,
all of it.
open the ancient.
Crazy stuff cooking right
Ya,
now.
lu tau nggak aja Yellow Dash gue di mana?
Just wait, we got it cooking right now. Just
Geca?
like when they posted the frickin' what was it?
Mm.
The ball
Iya di mananya? Di mana?
10 year, 100,000 years in the past.
Kotang,
Greenland,
weh.
Valencia Desert. It's like, bro, are you gonna see that till I have
Oh, atau enggak SM-nya? Kale.
That's years in the making. Why are you telling me
Geca
about
kemarin
that?
ngehan Kale.
But it's inspiring
Bisa
new
mungkin di
goals,
situ.
right? It's getting you all excited. It's weird,
That
right?
was so true. They're like, and after those 3 expansions, then we're gonna roll it back and go land the
Geca 6
Pokemon
kali itu.
and we're like, my kids are gonna have so much fun with it.
They're gonna inherit my account as I'm retiring. Yeah, literally.
It's so crazy.
On the realistic positive note, you know, we have been waiting for the Altar of Blood rework, right? The Savage Rift maybe one day will return, right?
No, bro.
We got listen, maybe Shadow Arena coming back, you know, that's possible. They got there's you know, all kinds of new stuff. Technically the Demon Land is essentially a new concept, right? It's similar to the Throne and Liberty thing where you're sieging like an open world dungeon where you have to fight.
Gue kan pengen ke Wind Cave ya. Gue mikir pakai ini aja lah.
Right? Like
ID-nya Kenaldi daripada gue bikin Ciro.
obviously they're taking the lost
Jancut darahnya 12.000 ID Kenaldi.
you're enhancing from that, right?
Gak jadi gue.
Sovereign is quite literally almost a one-to-one
Lu mau coba ya?
for the Lost Ark stuff, except you're not
Mau coba gue
Ada nih
bikin
kalau
game
mau
lah.
nyoba lu.
because you enhance, you get
Nggak pakai game
and
dong
then you
sih.
have a chance to
FW.
succeed, and then eventually you'll hit the pity meter. And
Pakai
then
punya
on
si
top
itu.
of that, unlike Lost Ark, you're limited by weekly
Kalau mau coba.
gold in your weekly
Ini
game.
easy
Itu
fit
pun
berapa?
full buff di 2 kali getok mati. Enggak full stick.
Itu darahnya
Positif
berapa?
in. Oke kemarin 50 ke 80 gitu. Pokoknya 2 kali getok tetap mati Rang. Jadi di situ emang hit and run. Modelnya kayak lu ngehan di itu di tagih lantai 5 dulu tuh loh.
Bener-bener nggak boleh kena
Sumpah
hit
sekali.
artinya.
Iya, nggak boleh kena hit. Sebenarnya yang bagus ya itu yang kayak SW, Mage, terus Archer, Gunner juga bisa tapi ntar dia ini ambil skill yang area itu dikit-dikit.
Desku di mana ya? Kotang.
Bikin semua pokoknya. Harusnya lah. Karena Geca kemarin bilang kan, ntar gua nggak ada yang gua onin, ntar kalau orangnya mau ngambil barangnya biar tinggal login.
Nih login kotang nih. Tabrak kan?
Tetap aja. Dia lagi ada ini acara gereja nggak tahu apa. Jarang
nggak ada di
jarang
kotang.
on. Kalau nggak di kotang di Kale.
Di Kale
Kalau nggak ada
nggak
lagi
itu.
di Dreamcatcher udah terakhir itu. Cuaks.
Dreamcatcher gica berapa?
Geca AX
23 ya? Kagak ada gica AX nih. Lu nggak pernah buka ID gica ya?
jarang. Nggak ngapalin gua. Gua buka ID gua sendiri aja udah kewalahan Rang. Nambah kemarin ID-nya Apin tuh.
Tuh, gue nabrak Geca. Dia lagi di ini. Dungeon Crude. Gak ada desku juga.
Nggak tahu deh. Tanya gitu aja deh.
Gak balas sih.
Technically, the last thing is Dose Awakening. Dose Awakening is fun.
Oh
I've
yeah,
been playing it
Dose
nonstop.
Awakening.
It is super fun. It's like a miniature shy. You get like heals, HP buff, special damage buffs, and stuff like that. And
Ih, lucu nih ada topinya.
awesome. And it's, I mean, it's technically
Pet-
a little less
PT
optimized
Cuaks.
than the Suck Doso, but it's
Apa petnya?
fun. The mechanic of
Gentle
combining the
Pumpisto.
special effects is
Jadi 4.
super cool. But that's all I gotta say. I've been playing it and having a blast on it. It's really fun.
I only played it for a few minutes. and
Yang gambarnya bagus ya yang itu kan naga-nagaannya tuh dari
and like the concept looks really
Gitu,
cool too.
bagus.
As people kind of figure it out. It's definitely got like a really high skill ceiling.
Yes, the
but, like,
initial combos are like just do all the abilities.
Ada
Now
HP
the
4.
combos are like,
Sayang banget di HP 4.
three abilities, and then you got, like, the
Nggak
option
dicolok
to
kartu
do
dulu sama Geca.
is incredible.
Yeah.
dia kemarin ini nyari di apa
He added the quality of
armor
life
dulu
to
tuh
things
armornya
like that.
masih busuk katanya.
Like I was like, oh, that's kind of
Dia kan udah dapat T B apa T gitu.
buff, like flanking class. Like it's a assassin.
B-nya dia ada ini sih Tiparet Defender Armor.
Right, it's a great like one-off flex class where like you know if you're approaching from a flank position and you're like in a party with people approaching from the flank, you can buff them temporarily and then everyone's doing more damage. It fills that niche really well. The problem is the buff didn't last for long enough, so you spent all of your gameplay
it's
trying
only
to
like
keep
5 seconds.
all of your gameplay was trying to keep your buffs up instead of trying to like actually do combat. And so now I think they
Di
increased
siapa
the
ya?
buff duration from 5 to 10 seconds, which I think is a really big change. Honestly,
Sama
I think
deh.
that they should probably be 20 seconds if I'm being honest. Like 20 seconds is a little bit more reasonable for those kind of buffs. That way you're not constantly focused on trying to keep the buffs up. It feels like more of a pre-buff thing that you can remember to do before you engage, right? Or as the engagement is happening, the really good doses can kind of keep those buffs running. 10 seconds is still just a little bit short in my opinion, but I do feel like it feels like a really cool niche in the game where like you want one of these on your flex team, right? For large scale, although nowadays there is no flex team for large scale, so who am I kidding? But like
Licio kali.
it does feel a really cool niche in that regard, at least for like the PvE, like the boss splits and stuff. That's really cool too. So like you know you can help keep your party buffed up for those and stuff. So again, the class looks really cool, and I think
Licio,
they're
Cuk.
going in a good direction with it. But this is exactly what I expect from them. If there's
Apanya?
one thing our developers understand how to do,
Deslo.
is make a meaningful, unique looking class every single time with a unique theme. There's some copers out there that will be like, oh, they reuse some of the animation.
Di dalamnya ada bronze Black Dragon chest.
Sometimes, like some of the movement skills can kind of feel like they're close to the same, right? Each class has its own identity, and I think they did a great job with Dose Awakening in this regard.
Cio juga nerculum nih.
They nailed it yet again.
Chill
in my
deh.
opinion, in terms of classes. So, nothing
Tuh lu buka Cio orang.
Do you have,
Hmm.
Jay, you haven't been talking a whole
Ini
lot
dong
about
apa
trying.
sayap
No,
apa?
you're good.
Pet
I
flame.
have not checked out
Mau
Dust
gue balikin.
Awakening yet. I've heard a lot of things about it in terms of like how the mechanic is. It's like very caster-like from what I was told. I did have a viewer who said that it's hard for them to play because they're like colorblind, and I
Di
don't
mana
know
tuh?
how much the color like, knowing the colors help a lot when you're doing the mechanics. At least for
Udah beli hangat, Mas.
one year, he was having trouble playing the class, but
Emang udah dibeli sama
it
dia.
sounds like a really
Cuma
cool class in
masih
terms
kurang
of, I didn't
25
realize it
juta.
was a buffing class. I didn't realize that it did all those
Makanya
things.
ID-nya sering gue sandra kadang. Gue pakai.
Outside of
Really
sharp
cool.
buffs, yeah, it's like a secondary set of buffs. Yeah.
Really cool. Yeah. And again, it adds dynamic, it adds skill ceiling, but it doesn't make the class less approachable. Like you can still, as a new player, pick it up and play it and have a long way to go with it, right?
And it
So-
feels similar to Scholar. The things flow into each
Yeah.
other. I love that about it.
Okay.
It pulled exactly because Suckdose was a little clunky for me. There were certain combos that just kind of made my hand feel a little weird, but overall it had a lot of nice shift keys that you can go and press for the big AoEs and stuff. But the Awakening has done essentially what Scholar was, where everything kind of flows into the next ability. There's so many flows, and then a secondary ability that follows up with one or two of the key presses that you were technically pressing before, and then flows into the next thing, right? Like you would use like a Shift E into holding it into just an E, and then like a Shift F into an F, and then like a Shift L and B into an S L and B. So your hand is constantly flowing on the keyboard, just like the class literally flows together. I love it so much. It's so much fun.
Do you utilize any of the pre-awakening stuff? Because I know for Wusa
I don't touch it
Awakening,
at
like,
all. Don't touch it. It's a completely separate. You could technically use stuff. I don't at all. I don't need to.
Okay, okay.
Even the movement
at
is
least for-
completely awakening based.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, it's got its own like sprints and
Utilize
runs.
any of the stuff? Because for Wusa, to make a comparison to Wusa, like I don't know, maybe it's just the way they designed her, but her awakening feels so much better when you mix in her pre-awakening. It's a lot of her pre-awakening movement is also present in awakening. It's like very like melded together. So it's interesting how this like you're mentioning
completely
how
separated.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't feel like it's used at all.
There might be some potential for people that are trying to min-max or like.
AOW kita kan ada 2 aja, selalu gimana ya? AOW damage.
It's very chill.
Di ini siapa namanya? Adiknya Marcel tuh.
Kenneth.
Nah, itulah. Nah, itu.
Itu yang HP 3.
Yang HP 3.
But when it comes to something like Perfect Spot, where you just proc your buffs after buff after buff, there are some combos that people have like kind of split the rotation into 3 different sets.
I spent hours looking for the best way to get OP items in Power World in such a short amount of time without needing to be level 50. There is definitely going to be some secrets in this video that you did not know about. Alright, what's good guys? So like I said, we have a bunch of secrets to share in this vid. We're not going to be having too much, we're just going to go straight into it since we have a bunch of different ones. There is no specific glitch or specific thing we are covering in this vid. It is just a bunch of rapid fire really cool tips. So, first of all, in one of my last vids, I made a best pals to put in the ranch kind of thing, and we were getting Hyper Spears, we were getting all kinds of really cool hidden items that you can get from the ranch. I'll go over those really quickly, but first of all, like I was saying, we want to put the Dew Mud into the ranch. You can get this pal super early game, really easy to get. You can put him right in the ranch, and if you're an early game player, or you just don't like farming high quality pal oil, look at that. Just one of them will drop a good amount of high quality pal oil. You can get like 5 of them in here if you want, and they will just be an AFK source of high quality pal oil. Not a lot of people know that these drop high quality pal oil, but if you don't, now you do. So super easy way to get that. That is just for all the new players, a really easy tip. If you guys didn't know that, this is definitely one of the best pals to have in your little grazing area, and he is for sure one of my favorites. Now, we're going to go over the other 2 really important ones to put in the grazing area. So if you did see the video, you can go ahead and skip this if you want. But the first one coming up is actually going to be the
Yohei Ohtani.
water pals. Of course, course, I'm talking about the kelp seed, and the kelp seed will drop something super duper useful too. Now, in the meantime, while we're waiting for him to graze, we're actually going to go put the other pals in there, and of course, I'm talking about the kelp seed ignis. The kelp seed ignis and the kelp seed are super duper easy to get early game, and they are going to drop some really useful things. So, all the old players coming back that didn't really know this, all of these have been updated, changed, all kinds of stuff. They drop new stuff, they drop better stuff, they drop stuff.
And watch as I go from a complete noob to an absolute Power World legend. If this sounds like the video for you, then join me to the end. Before any hero's journey can begin, they must be forged in the fires of destiny. Did I craft a character that was unique to my preferences? Did I create a character that was so unique that he would carve out his own story in these new unexplored lands? No! I created a generic anime girl. Welcome to Power World. I gave her heart-shaped eyes because I have a brain parasite that compelled me to do so. And because I'm a mature adult, I played around with the voice slider before settling on my character. I woke on a beach surrounded by little critters called pals. Are they Pokemon? No! I encountered this lady who hates pals because they ate her friends alive or something.
Ya kan Aldi ngapain masukin akurasi level 15.
I crafted myself some basic tools, such as a club and a pickaxe. And I began harvesting the resources in the area.
Ya Cuk, nggak ambil heal Cuk.
I crafted my first power balls. I
Build
understand why
apain?
the hill was so afraid. If I saw this thing coming at me with a wild look in its eye, I'd fear for my life.
Buat ngahan.
I used my cudgel to give this precarious poultry a bomb.
Akor 15, damage 15,
After capturing that
defense 1, movement 1.
chickpea,
HP 10, AP 1.
I had my
Gua itu yang ngambil.
Oh ini loh.
So I returned
Ah,
to the angry woman
Buat
salah.
apa Cuk akor 15?
over the head.
Nggak
So
tahu,
in
gua
response,
pikir
she filled me
naik.
full of lead.
kalau
Naik
15.
satu status. Buat ngahan gue kayak gitu orang.
Down my freshly caught chicky pie by accident. I thought it was
Masalahnya
I
pas
gave
gua
myself
10
a
miss
nice
anjing
scare
kemarin
before I
Ja.
rolled off into the
Buffnya
sunset.
itu
It was
sedih.
time to settle down on somewhere more permanent.
Habis naikin MPW nggak ngefek
My initial
gedein juga.
strong point because it had a
Oh,
fast travel
alah.
node next to it, and I would be using it quite liberally later on. I crafted a pal box, and what this is
Kalau gue itu
basically like a
buat
piece of
ngahan tuh.
tutorial on
Akur
Pokemon.
sama
I
attack doang
swear
nggak
I
ambil
was
deh.
trying not to make
Di ini
too many
gimana?
Pokemon comparisons,
BD
okay?
sama
Let's
di
start
itu
off with
Candy.
Fire Pals. Fire Pals have the kindling ability.
Enaknya
They
apa, lu
go
ngebuff
based on
sejam
how
sekali
they
doang.
cook food for you and smelt your ore and ingots. Stuff like that. Game. It has kindling tier 4 and it just smells
Rata-rata
like
pos
there's
gua
no
kayak
tomorrow. I needed more at some point. I crafted a power generator, officially marking my escape from the Dark Ages. With little else to do for the day, I worked on my base throughout the night. I found myself in the desert once again. This time I was flying over to the wildlife sanctuary to catch a lion. I wanted one.
Harus di reset
because
nih
it
kalau
was
nggak bisa
really
dungeon nggak ada heal.
off the base. I flew across the sea, not
Oke lah.
knowing what I'd find. There were a lot of powerful pals here, like Astagon. I really wanted to catch it, so I proceeded with caution. This Astagon was way stronger than any of my pals, and I was out of my league. The fight took almost all day, and with Warsek's help, I did get it down far enough to capture it. Unfortunately, it
Atuh,
broke out
Cok.
all of my pal spheres, and the regular pal spheres just weren't cutting
Harusnya
it,
2-0.
so I put it down. It hurt a lot.
Tim Liquid
And I would
turu
find out
dek.
very soon that I would come to regret this decision. Astagon knocked out my Vanworm, so I was trapped in the wildlife sanctuary now. And as I was formulating a plan to leave, I saw this glowing pal down below named the Orsurk. I knew it was kind of rare, so I tried my luck. The Orsurk took out most of my battle pals, and at the last moment, I threw a Gigasphere and caught it. So here's what I was talking about. At the
Gue ngahan apa? Gue nggak pakai Gaius loh sekarang.
random Mamorests decided to come into my base.
Gue sudah ada teori detikan yang tepat.
Was a trip to the grave. And amongst all the ruckus, the egg I had been waiting for was laid. I had some time to kill waiting for my other eggs to hatch. So I farmed
Lupotnya,
a little bit
healnya
and
tiap
called
berapa
it an
detik.
early night. Bright and early in the morning, I heard the siren's call of a lucky pal, and I began my search. This time, it was a lucky lamb ball, and I caught it. Another one for the pile. Pals took forever to breed, so I went out into the world to see what I could find, and I ended up
Udah jadi
back in
streamer
the
aja
forest
masih
at the Syndicate
kikir.
camp. This was my first time encountering a meme mob. They were just pals that look like treasure chests.
Gue sama Gaius udah nggak kikir. Didikan libur Ada gue. caranya.
On the edge of this cliff.
Didikan Sora
Pal
jadi
ball
kikir.
later, and this little critter was mine. After flying around for most
Dia
of the
caranya
day,
lu login banyak.
I
Tinggal
went
ikut
flat and caught
apa tuh
myself my
namanya?
favorite pal.
Werewolf.
A lovely Salamander, and my last power
Ini adalah ikut werewolf dan kalahkan semua, maka satu cara lu akan dapat satu gayus.
Oh iya, gue tau.
Iya, tiap minggu kan kalau ada werewolf gue panen guys 25.
Gue nggak bisa login, jamnya kemalaman.
Yang aneh lagi ada aja yang mau beli. Berapa bang? 500.000 sini.
I rushed back to base and hatched the earth egg that was holding an Anubis, and finally I could begin to actually just play Power World normally instead of like a sweat. My genetic tampering wasn't finished, however, and I threw Wyvern into the ranch and gave it a relaxed source, and proceeded to play Power World normally by AFKing for the rest of the day. I became bored of my base layout and decided now.
Ya ampun, belum kelar downloadnya.
This is unbelievable. Fucking believe it, man. This guy's built a mediocre piece of software that might be worth something someday, and now they live here. Money flying all over Silicon Valley, but none of it ever seems to hit us. What the hell are you eating?
Liquid shrimp. $200 a quart. Wiley Dufresne made it.
How does it taste?
Like how I would imagine fountain tastes. You guys taking it all in? Because this is what it looks like when Google acquires your company for over $200 million. Look, Dustin Muscovich, Elon Musk, Eric Schmidt, whatever the fuck the guy's name is that created Potria. And Kid Rock is the poorest person here, apart from you guys. Okay, there's $40 billion of net worth walking around this party. And you guys are standing around drinking shrimp and talking about what cum tastes like. Yeah, I heard that. You guys lived in my incubator, you got a network. That's why I brought you here. I got us in here. Javed over there is my ex-roommate. Yeah, but I drove. Eric Schmidt, Erlich Bachman.
Aku enggak.
With the most recent Power World update, we got access to a new building piece and new materials, namely the pillar.
I got 7 words for you.
Glass too, but the pillar is going to completely change what, where, and how you can build in this game. So I just want to kind of go over what the pillar is, how you can utilize it to the fullest, so that way you can build whatever you want, wherever you want. Let's start by talking about what the pillar is. So the pillar is this little pole right here. This is the wood pole, the wood pillar, stone pillar, the metal pillar, and the glass pillar. Now these 4 little layers basically act as a foundation piece, but they can be attached to basically anything except roof pieces. I haven't been able to figure out how to connect them to roof pieces, but I don't think you actually can. They're incredibly versatile. Now, not to point out the obvious, but if you notice, the wood pillar is it's a log. It's circular. All the other ones are square in nature, so it's easy to tell where the pieces that you're connecting to it are going to be connected to, right? So when you connect a flat ceiling to this, it's basically going to just take up like a quadrant, and this is handy when you want to build to be a certain direction. You can easily tell where that's going to land. But with the wooden pillar, it's a little bit harder to tell. From what I've been able to work out of this, there's this piece of wood that's just a little bit longer than the rest. This one right here. The quadrant kind of starts right to the left of it. See that? So that's the piece you can use to line up the build if you are wanting it to face a certain direction or whatever. You can also connect a
Dunia
floor to
21.
it, build the pillars underneath, and then foundations can also snap directly to the pillars. So another cool thing that you can do with these is they can be built into water, like so. Now you can't place them in water. It'll say the same thing that it says when you're, you know, trying to place a regular foundation. It'll just say not placed on the ground. You can't actually build them on the water like that. But what you can do, so you're just doing this, build out one. What you can do, add a pillar, add another pillar. See how that one's in the ground? I don't know if you can tell. Hold on, let me see. See how that one's in the ground? That's how you're able to provide the support if you're building in water. Now I can build out 2 more pieces because they act just like foundations. Again, that one's not touching the ground. If I just hover on the piece like